This is a Texas gubernatorial debate, live from the Rio Grande Valley. Here is your moderator, Ryan Wolf.
Republican candidate Attorney General Greg Abbott and Democratic candidate Senator Wendy Davis square off in a one-hour debate. Good evening and welcome to this historic first gubernatorial debate in Texas, live from the Edinburgh Conference Center at Renaissance in the Rio Grande Valley. I'm Ryan Wolf, anchor at Action 4 News. This is the very first Texas gubernatorial debate ever held in the Rio Grande Valley, and we couldn't be more excited about it. Certainly, we wouldn't be here without the candidates, so let's meet them right now. Senator Wendy Davis, thank you so much for being here. Attorney General Greg Abbott, thank you so much for being here. Ryan. We also want to welcome our audience members watching tonight from the auditorium, people watching this across the state of Texas on TV, online, and across the nation on C-SPAN. I'd like to introduce my co-moderators tonight. We have Carlos Sanchez, the editor at The Monitor. Thank you so much. And Dalila Garza, she's the anchor at Telemundo 40. Thank you for being here, both of you as well. For people watching at home, you can be a part of this historic debate. Hop online, social media, Facebook and Twitter, and use the hashtag RGVDebate. We'd love to hear your response to what the candidates are saying, and also keep score tonight. Right now, Dalila, with some words for our Spanish language viewers.
Thank you, Ryan. Muy buenas tardes, les saluda Dalila Garza y es para mí un honor representar a Telemundo 40 y a nuestra audiencia hispana en este debate histórico que estamos transmitiendo en vivo y en español a través de nuestras estaciones hermanas de Telemundo en el estado de Texas y vía internet por telemundo40.com. También quiero agradecer a la presencia del público que nos acompaña en el auditorio enseguida de este escenario. Por supuesto, a quienes están en casa, les invitamos a que sean parte de esta conversación por medio de nuestras redes sociales, Facebook y Twitter, utilizando el hashtag TXDebate.
Carlos, now with a review of tonight's debate rules.
Thank you, Ryan. The debate, sponsored by Doctors Hospital at Renaissance, will last 1 hour. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to questions, and the opposing candidate 45 seconds to rebut. The questions have only been seen by the panelists. There will be no opening statements, but each candidate will have 2 minutes to close at the end of the debate. A coin toss last week determined that Senator Wendy Davis will take the first question. Senator Davis, border mayors have expressed great concern over the public image of the region in light of heightened security and armed militia members. What would you do to balance border security with economic development?
Good evening, and I'm so happy to be here with everyone in the Rio Grande Valley. I would start, Carlos, by listening to the local law enforcement officials and others here who know best what is right for their community. Folks like Sheriff Guerra and Judge Garcia, who felt like we needed some boots on the ground, but they asked that we have deputies on the ground to assist with law enforcement, detention, and arrest authority. The surge that the governor supported was one that I supported as well, because if the federal government will not act to protect our borders, Texas must and will. But at the same time, we must be sensitive to the reputation of this community. Comments from my opponent calling this area third world are inappropriate. And as governor, I will work with this community through our tourism fund to help repair the tarnished image that's occurred as a consequence.
General Abbott, your response.
Carlos, thank you. And also, I want to extend my gratitude for being able to participate in this historic debate here in the Rio Grande Valley, which raises the issue that you touched upon, and that is whether it's in the Rio Grande Valley or anywhere in the entire state of Texas. Secure communities promote economic development. And we want to ensure that the community here in the Rio Grande Valley, as well as any community in the state of Texas, is going to be safe and secure. That was the purpose of ensuring that we have additional DPS officers on the ground. That was the purpose behind sending the National Guard down here. It's important to point out that it was after those law enforcement officials came here that SpaceX announced it was opening operations to an entire new world for business and space exploration right here in the Rio Grande Valley.
Thank you, sir.
General Abbott, recently a federal judge ruled that school funding system was unconstitutional. Should the Robin Hood system be defended or dismantled?
Well, listen, it's clear that one thing that needs to be done is to get beyond the school structure that we have in the past. The school structure that was litigated in this case was based in part on systems that were created in the last century. What I want to do is to reinvent education in schools in this state. My goal is to ensure that Texas has the #1 ranked high school and lower school education systems in the entire United States of America. And we do that by focusing on the fundamental building blocks of education. I want to ensure that education begins with a strong foundation all the way through 3rd grade, ensuring that students have the ability to read and do math at grade level by the time they finish the 3rd grade. But most importantly, I want to put trust where it belongs, and that is with our teachers, and get all these one-size-fits-all mandates from Austin, Texas off the backs of teachers.
Senator Davis.
In stark contrast to Mr. Abbott, I stood in protest against $5.4 billion in cuts to our public schools. Mr. Abbott has been defending them in court ever since, and Judge Dietz' ruling ruled in favor of our children and against Mr. Abbott. Mr. Abbott, these cuts and the cuts that you're defending that have left our classrooms overcrowded, that have left our teachers laid off, that's not liberal, that's not conservative, it's just dumb. And it's shortchanging our children and selling out their future. As governor, I will make the education of our children a priority, and I will fight to make sure that our schools have more resources, not less.
Thank you. Senator Davis, you recently released a book in which you discuss your personal plight with abortion. What do you see as fair regulations on abortion?
I have always believed that women should be able to make this most personal and difficult of decisions themselves, guided by their faith and their family and with their doctor. I stood on the Senate floor for 13 hours to assure that this most private of decisions could be made by women. My opponent, on the other hand, has paid women in his office less than he's paid men. He has campaigned with a known sexual predator who has bragged about having sex with underage girls. And he has shown that he is not favorable even for women to make decisions on their own in cases of brutal rape or incest. Mr. Abbott, that is not protecting Texas women. And on behalf of Texas women, I say no thank you.
General Abbott, your response.
Sure, Ryan. I am pro-life, and I'm Catholic. And like most Texans, I believe that all life is sacred. And as governor, I will develop a culture of life in this state so we can do even more to protect both women and children. But to directly answer your question, Texas is ensuring that we protect more life and do a better job of protecting the health care of women by providing that women still have 5 months to make a very difficult decision. But after that time, the state has an interest in protecting innocent life.
General Abbott, in a speech in Dallas, you compared corruption in the Valley to third world country practices. What was your motivation behind that comparison, and do you regret that many people were offended by that statement?
Well, Carlos, as you point out, I did make that statement in Dallas, and I made that statement about corruption across the state of Texas, not targeting the Rio Grande Valley. As Attorney General, I have fought to root out and prosecute corruption across the state of Texas. I have prosecuted more than 100 instances of public corruption. And it doesn't matter if you're in the Rio Grande Valley or in Dallas, Texas. We need to have a state that eliminates corruption. And as governor, I will continue to ensure that we root out challenges like this, which is why I have proposed ethics reform, so that we can prevent situations like legislators who are profiteering off of their offices. But also, you know, Carlos, it really doesn't matter if you are here in the RGV or if you're in the Panhandle. You want to ensure that your public officials are abiding by the law. As your Attorney General and as your governor, I will ensure that is done.
Senator Davis, your response.
These comments mean something. They label a community. And Mr. Abbott, though he says he's worked on corruption in other parts of this state, has never referred to other parts of this state as third world. Words matter. We embrace this area of our state as a part of our state, an incredible part of the diversity of who we are. As governor, my focus will be on investing and making sure that everyone understands what I understand about the Rio Grande Valley, that it is filled with parents who want opportunities for their children, that it is filled with hard-working people who want jobs that will pay them well. And as their next governor, it's my intention to provide that.
Thank you.
Senator Davis, did you support issuing driver's license to undocumented immigrants? Why or why not?
I believe that everyone who is on the road should have a driver's license and should be insured. Other states have found a way to make this happen, even for undocumented immigrants in their community. Far too often, as a public servant, I've been told about incidences where people have been in an accident with an uninsured driver. As Arizona does, Texas, I believe, should issue driver certificates for people who pass a driver's test and prove that they have insurance. That's the safest way that we can assure the people who are driving on our roads are driving with the right authority and with the right insurance.
General Abbott.
Sure, Dalila, there are problems with regard to the conflict that these laws would have with the Federal Real ID Act. And we saw that come into play when we did have another state that tried to create these driver's licenses in the form of California. And the U.S. Department of Justice rejected California's attempt to create these licenses, and so I think it's simply unworkable because of the conflict with federal law.
Thank you. General Abbott, a recent report ranks the RGV as worst for wait times when it comes to veterans care. What action would you take to improve the timeliness and quality of care veterans receive?
Well, it is offensive that the men and women who have fought for our country are having to wait, and now it's been documented, sometimes losing their lives because of the inadequate care at the Veterans Administration. I got to tell you, my family looks a lot like Texas. It is filled with veterans. My brother served in the United States Navy for 20 years. My wife's family served in the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. In fact, she has an uncle who actually served in the Army during World War II. And the men and women who serve on the front line should not have to be pushed to the back of the line when it comes to their health care needs. It is offensive that during his campaign, Barack Obama came down here to the Rio Grande Valley and said that he would establish a veterans health care hospital right here. And we're still waiting for the president to make true on his promise. I will work with federal authorities to ensure that we get the health care we need for our veterans.
Thank you. Senator Davis, you respond?
It is unacceptable that anyone who serves our country should find themselves here without the medical care that they have earned and that they so deserve. I will work with this community to assure that we do bring a hospital, a veterans hospital, here to serve our service members who have served us so well. Right now, they are having to drive as far as San Antonio. We have a great opportunity for this with the new UT-RGV Medical School. And I'd like to see us work with the UT-RGV Medical School to see if we can create a shared campus that provides a medical hospital specifically for our veterans.
Thank you.
Senator Davis, Texas has left millions of dollars on the table that would have come to the state if we had expanded Medicaid. If elected, would you go after that money? Could you explain that answer?
Greg Abbott's plan is that we will send $100 billion of our tax money to California and New York in the next 10 years. There is a reason that Republican governors around this country have found a way that's right for their states to bring this money down. There's a reason that chambers of commerce throughout this state, including right here in the Rio Grande Valley, have begged us to do the right thing and bring this money back to Texas to work for us and to create the 300,000 estimated jobs per year that it will bring. Mr. Abbott is California's best friend in Texas because he wants to continue sending our tax dollars to them. And of course, Mr. Abbott, California already has one governor. They do not need two.
General Abbott, your response.
Sure, Carlos, I will provide more access to more health care to more Texans. I've laid out a plan that ensures that we increase funding for women, we increase funding for veterans, we increase funding for the disabled, and we increase funding for mental health needs. But I will not do what Senator Davis will do. Senator Davis wants to expand Obamacare in the state of Texas, and that is the last thing that we need because Obamacare is an abject failure. Obamacare and expanded Medicaid is bad for patients, is bad for doctors, it is bad for taxpayers. You've seen the future of Obamacare with VA care. That's how bad it is for patients. As it concerns doctors, they're fleeing both Medicaid and Obamacare because they simply cannot get paid. And
General
you
Abbott,
cannot
your
have
time is
access
up.
to health care without doctors.
Thank you.